Yeah, I don't want to hear. I love De Niro. I love those mob movies. It's like
I don't want to hear him that he's a moron. I don't want to hear him talking about politics and about Trump supporters, and just shut the up, man.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't think this through. Like, this is, and he's getting yelled at. He's doing an outside press conference. Like, Robert, you're 80 years old. Don't ruin this thing. You've had this life where you were a raging bull. You know, you were in The Godfather. Like, stop doing this. Man. Don't do this.
What if I told you that Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet David just gave Robert Darrow a verbal beating more severe than a WWE rookie? Yes, Mr. Tough Guy encountered two guys who were podcasters and had no chill. He may be seen shouting about politics 1 minute and then being grilled on Rogan's grill like a cheap steak the next. Additionally, Patrick provided receipts, reasoning, and that arrogant billionaire smile. What did they say that made Darrow appear to have forgotten his own lines? Hold on tight, this one is crazy.
When he's at a film festival and a documentary was coming out about vaccine by, I think, Del Bigtree, and he's talking about the documentary because he's got an autistic son. I think he's like 22 or 23 years old. That's one area where he's like, we have to look into this. What's going on with this? And he's kept the counter to him. At the time, the kid was 16 years old. But I think there's some moments, and they try to hide it as much as possible. So Robert De Niro
suggested there's a link between vaccines and autism.
You've never seen this interview?
No.
I have to show it to you afterwards. Okay. So he's talking about it, and the host is trying to shut him up. He's, you guys got to see this documentary. And he's not one that uses his kids as a, we know where he's at with Trump. We know he's got TDS. Yeah. We know he loses his mind. But when it comes down to vaccine and autism, that is a very personal thing to him.
But can you imagine not being allowed to ask?
Yeah, that's a...
Oh, Robert Darrow, the man who became the poster child for the iconic Hollywood meltdown and somehow became a movie legend. It is comparable to attending a masterclass on how to go from a cab driver to that character in that forgotten movie. A man who once gave us concerts we will never forget should at least maintain some dignity. But Darrow has been too busy losing his sense of reality to handle anything more than a kid with a freshly spilled ice cream cone.
Old people's text messages, the fucking text on their phone is like as big as my hand.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so your vision of the world is blurring, literally and figuratively, and then you're getting old, and when old people are tired and cranky, they just want everyone to listen to them, and they don't have time to have a calm conversation, and you state out your opinion, I'll state my opinion, let's see where we have common ground. Hey, get off my lawn! And that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. He's being this old grumpy man that is so lost that he thinks it's a good idea to stand in front of a bunch of people on the street and give a speech on camera about how bad Donald...
You know what? Darrow has turned into a walking parody of Hollywood's biggest annoyance. The celebrity who peaked decades ago and now only engages in loud, humiliating outbursts. He is similar to the partygoer who is constantly yelling about politics. But the party is the world stage, and the politics are whatever hot comments he can think of in between uncomfortable interviews and tirades against Trump.
Did you see when he went and gave that speech outside of the trial? That was bizarre.
Told him that was a good idea.
And then he starts yelling at regular people.
Well,
He's like, fuck you, you're a gangster. Go fuck you. Like,
it's crazy that that's the guy from Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
You know what also I think those guys have no friends. I think the only friends they have are Hollywood phonies. And so you're in this weird world where everybody you talk to is a phony, and you become a phony, and everyone's a phony, and your grasp on reality is very slippery.
Speaking of which, Darrow's fixation on Trump is almost psychotic. If you believed that winning an Oscar would mean you would have a significant impact on the world, you should reconsider. Even a middle school student could have created Darrow's comments, which were all wrapped in the same worn-out, predictable rage. It's like witnessing an adult man engaged in a Twitter argument with a ghost. Completely useless and a little awkward.
Egregious thing, I think the most unbelievable to me is somebody, Robert De Niro, who I was a huge fan of his work. I've seen Goodfellas with my family, my brother, my cousins. I'll say 150 times. I'm not even joking, but it just plays in the background. For someone, and God rest his soul, his grandson just died this year due to fentanyl overdose, okay? Why aren't you furious at this current administration? You should be ashamed of yourself, because that fentanyl that came in and killed your grandson either came from China or it came from Mexico, okay? And guess what? Because of the wide open border, and whose fault is that again, Tom?
Or Mexico is the distributor for China.
Guess what?
At this point, Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet David's arrival at Darrow is essentially the universe rebalancing Joe, the master of lengthy discussions where reason and proof truly count, and Patrick, the businessman who never backs down from a challenge, chose to roast Niro like a Thanksgiving turkey that was left out in the sun. Furthermore, spoiler alert, Niro didn't make a return because, well, he normally doesn't once the facts start to fall out. The first is that Niro's recent professional decisions appear to be the product of a drunken game of spin the genre. From Dirty Grandpa to Raging Bull's intensely melancholy lead Yes, that film, the man obviously has no more shame. Observing him transition from Oscar-winning parts to cameos is akin to witnessing a legend inadvertently caught in the incorrect Netflix algorithm. You anticipate grit and ingenuity 1 minute. Then you realize that he's only doing it to get paid, and you start to wince. As a spoiler, it reveals
Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt's convinced that Robert De Niro's on some kind of Epstein list or some kind of thing like that, and then he's afraid that if Trump does get power, he's going to expose him, and he is actually going to come at him.
Of course Kurt thinks
That's
that.
what Kurt thinks that.
Kurt thinks that about every fucking thing that happens in the world.
I think Robert De Niro's just got Trump derangement syndrome.
I think he's old, too. There's a thing about old men.
And
they want...
Furthermore, let's not even discuss his political posturing. Niro's outspoken anti-Trump views are more desperate attention grabbers than strong Hollywood voices. You are aware of the kind shouting into a megaphone in the hopes that someone would hear. But in this instance, no one is paying any attention because Niro has long since lost the legitimacy that comes with actual authority. His hateful remarks sound like an elderly man telling children to leave his property, except the lawn is Twitter, and the children are millions of votes. Patrick Bet David made this argument with surgical accuracy. He attacked Niro's duplicity, with the ferocity of a shark on Wall Street. Now functioning like a moral compass, the man who portrayed a mob boss. It's really wealthy, and no, giving a few well-crafted speeches doesn't make you a leader. It just makes you a mouthy person. Bet David reminded everyone that Niro is still subject to criticism despite his notoriety. Actually, it encourages it, particularly when you're babbling on about subjects you obviously don't comprehend. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan delivered that sobering dose of truth. Niro was desperately needed but never received. Niro is clutching to relevancy like a dog with a chew toy, and Rogan, who is known for his ruthless honesty, didn't sugarcoat the fact. It's a sad sight for everyone who values true. Skill that the man who previously threatened Al Pacino in a heated argument can hardly threaten a YouTube commentator anymore.
He's being dead serious. And Pat, look, by the way, this is full Trump derangement syndrome, an attack, and he claims Donald Trump becomes president, all this is going to happen, right? He's clearly having an episode. So Trump is the threat to America. Meanwhile, in New York City right now, where he is from, De Niro's from Brooklyn, the governor last week deployed 750 National Guard soldiers with long rifles, M16s, in the subways due to skyrocketing crime and violence, which is caused a lot by the illegals set in. Who let these illegals in, Tom? Is it Trump?
In the last couple of years,
Joe Biden
has been working hard to set new records.
Thank you. And yet Trump is the threat. And give me a break, okay? And you said this, Pat. Is that I thought this was an act. Like, he's an actor, but what all this does, this negative rhetoric, it's further dividing an already divided.
The kicker is this. Niro's entire public character has shifted from acting to anger theater. Every shouty appearance, tweet, and interview feels like a performance. However, this time, a board intern with a grudge wrote the script. He seems to be attempting to remain relevant by verbally attacking others in a conflict he can't win. The unfortunate thing is that, other from perhaps observing how far the fall goes, no one is actually watching anymore. It's odd that Niro likened Trump supporters to dangerous criminals, considering that his Goodfellow act essentially glorified organized crime. In a cliché, it's rich irony. However, Niro presents himself as the universe's moral center. As like his entire body of work didn't include portraying some of the most vicious characters in movie history, Patrick Bet and Joe Rogan David did more than simply roast Niro. They revealed a man who is now more of a political punching bag than an actor. The man who was previously respected by everyone now just has Twitter followers who laugh at his most recent outburst or feel sorry for him. And that is its tragedy. Although Niro's name will live on in movie history forever, his latest exploits have made him the target of a joke that nobody finds very funny.
do this.
I'm terrified to meet some of those people I looked up to now.
You should be.
I mean, like
I've met a few of them, and it's actors in particular, because their whole business is pretend. Their whole business is pretend. You know, one of the things about guys like Theo or comedians, you run into comedians, their business is the opposite of pretend. Their business is just being a real person talking shit.
Yeah.
The professional shit talk.
Talkers look Patrick Bett and Joe Rogan. They reveal the skeletal remains of what was once an untouchable legacy, so David didn't simply touch the surface. Darrow's recent years have been filled with unpleasant incidents, unsuccessful films in public, outbursts that raise the possibility that he is trying out for a part in the upcoming major comedy about himself. Really, Darrow would have won 3 Oscars by now if self-parody were a genre. Let's discuss his creative decisions. You know those cameos, forgettable movies, and mediocre TV series where he's only mentioned as a joke or an afterthought? It's similar to witnessing a talented chef abruptly decide to serve microwave meals at a convenience store. What became of the intricate character analyses and multi-layered performances? It appears that they lost sight of the mesmerizing screen presence somewhere between a political tirade and a tweet storm. In relation to political tirades, it's almost depressing how Darrow has evolved into a partisan performer rather than an artist. Similar to a conspiracy theorist with a celebrity pass, the man who once offered us complex villains now yells at the TV about how awful the world is. His hatred of Trump is more the act of a man frantically trying to stay relevant by hurling insults that are just marginally more inventive than a superhero movie reboot than it is an indication of moral clarity.
Robert De Niro panics. If Trump wins, he'll come looking for me. Do you have the video, Rob? Because it's like, if you can just play the video of De Niro. I mean,
dude,
you know, go ahead, Rob. Just watch this, folks. Enjoy it.
The guy is a total monster. And anybody, I don't understand it. I guess they get behind that kind of logic. They want to fuck with people, screw them, because they're unhappy about something. He's such a mean, nasty, hateful person. I never play him as an actor because I can't see any good in him. Nothing at all. Nothing redeemable in him.
Oh God.
And we have to, and whoever the people are who want to vote for him, and there look like intelligent people around there. Somebody, for some reason, it can't.
Best, Patrick David was ruthless in this regard. He emphasized that Darrow's habit of talking loudly is only a last-ditch effort from a man who is aware that his time is running out. There is a significant difference between utilizing your platform to voice your complaints and using it to inspire others. And while he was busy shrieking at shadows, Darrow was solidly in the second camp, pointing the finger at a world that had changed. Darrow's attempts to portray the wise elder were shredded by podcasting giant Joe Rogan. By shouting memorable insults on late-night television, you don't become a cultural pundit. It requires timing and subtle insight. Rogan emphasized how Darrow looks to be stuck in a rut, reciting the same old lines over and over again, like a karaoke performer who has forgotten the words but refuses to let go of the microphone. It's like watching a statue attempt to dance when you watch him. It's a little heartbreaking and awkwardly forced. Darrow's moral anger frequently disregards his own professional background, which is one of the painful ironies here. The man who portrayed vicious criminals, drug traffickers, and mob bosses now gives us political and ethical lessons. It's similar to the man who constructed a home now criticizing others for residing in trailers. Although Darrow has earned the right to speak, your position becomes somewhat precarious when your artistic resume is full of morally dubious characters and anti-heroes.
Trump was feared, and he was respected, and he walked around, love him or hate him. We didn't have wars. So going back to what you're asking about Iran, what he would do, here's what he would be doing. There's no 6-hour stand down or 3-hour stand down. Here's what we're doing. He's doing a, what do you call it, a press conference going out. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to... Remember that one time when he says, Abu Bakr, what was his name? Baghdadi.
Additionally, the movies he recently selected, Oh No, the phenomenon whereby once great performers sign on to projects that are so incredibly terrible that fans begin to question whether it's an elaborate joke has a name. The comedian's filthy grandfather, the intern. These are more than just flops. They are complete train wrecks. With a mixture of defiance and ignorance, Darrow seems to be throwing his own legacy in the trash. Patrick David's analysis was quite astute. Darrow's Hollywood brand has become a warning about what happens when you don't change and sit on your laurels for too long. Resting on your former glory is insufficient in the modern world. You must remain up to date and, yes, modest enough to know when to back off. Darrow is now a joke rather than a force to be reckoned with because he won't accomplish any of those things. Joe Rogan made it apparent that Darrow's interactions with the public and social media are as polite as a bull in a china shop. Darrow increases his bluster and fury instead of having genuine conversations or displaying some humility, which just serves to highlight how out of touch he truly is. The man who used to command silence in a room now finds it difficult to maintain focus throughout a podcast session.
Do you think our democracy is at risk in this election?
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course, but democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's scary.
Are you
Excuse my French.
Rogan, Joe, and Bet Patrick David also focused on how Darrow's own actions have diminished his star power. His name used to ensure interest in a film, but now it serves more as a warning sign. Older viewpoints and irate remarks could be warning signs. It's a difficult decline, but he forced himself into it with each outburst and odd interview, not to mention the underprivileged viewers who continue to pay to see Darrow's work. Those who are hoping for the nuanced performances of Casino or The Deer Hunter are left scratching their heads as they watch him slack off in unmemorable roles. It's similar to getting fast cuisine when you're anticipating a fine dining experience. It does fill a void, but the taste is unpleasant. Ultimately, Joe Rogan and Patrick B. David's mockery of Robert Darrow served as a wake-up call and a reminder that neither brilliance nor popularity makes one immune to being made fun of, but it also served as a wake-up call. Darrow's transformation, from a beloved performer to Hollywood's most beloved cautionary tale, is a tale of wasted potential and unbridled ego.